All righty. Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Great.
Yes.
All righty. Well, good evening, everybody, and thank you so much for taking the time to be here today. Again, as Kelly mentioned, my name is Olivia Salter, and I'm going to be emceeing our meeting tonight. I just wanted to first and foremost take time to thank you all for being here. I know that right now, after the holidays, it's a very busy time of year, so thanks for setting aside some time with us. Your valuable insight will be integral to drafting our action plan, and we have been so thankful and appreciative of all the support that you've given us throughout this project since we started in September. Next slide, please. So before I begin, I'd just like to remind everybody how to enable speaker view, just in case you wanted to see the smiling, shining face of the student presenting to you. If you're accessing this meeting through Zoom, click view in the top right corner of the screen and then click on speaker. That way, the only person that you see is the person that is speaking at that moment. So if you want to go ahead and do that, I'll give you a moment to take care of that now. And next slide, which would be. So we are going to provide you with a brief overview today of the community outreach progress that we've made since starting our project in September. And then I'm going to hand things over to our student team so that they can share with you the goals and actions that they've come up with. And after our student team share their goals and actions, we're going to invite you to participate in a breakout discussion because we are, again, so appreciative of your feedback and insights, but I'm going to ask that everybody hold off on asking any questions or making any comments until then. So be sure to take note of anything of specific interest that might come up throughout our presentation. Next slide, please. And next, please. So since starting our project, we have accomplished quite a bit. We have hired and been working closely with a group of Cal Poly students that have been acting as Spanish translators for us. And these translators have played a pivotal role in producing public outreach materials and putting on engagement activities with us. Some of them are on the call today. So thank you and thank them for being here. Additionally, we hired Fernanda Lucas of the Promotores Collaborative to serve as our community liaison. And Fernanda has been working diligently to put us in contact with local stakeholders and key contacts in the community. And I'd like to take this opportunity to thank her as I saw that she was on the call. In addition, next slide, please. We just posted our survey on our website. And members of our community engagement team, along with Kelly, have been working very hard to draft the survey that is sent out to the community. Surveys are a great way of getting demographic information about residents and identifying community members' priorities in a way that is quantifiable and easily understood. And in addition to administering our surveys online, we'll also be administering our surveys door to door and by mail. And speaking of going online, next slide, Vaishnavi. With support from our Spanish translators and our graphics team, we put together and published our project website. On our website, you can learn more about project goals and objectives and the progress that we've made and access our contact information. I'll give you a moment to just briefly take a look at the home page so it's easier to navigate once you hop on. And next slide, Vaishnavi. So in addition to our website, we've also developed a social media page, and our social media activity was initiated by Allison from the community engagement team, and she's since been working to keep it up to date and maintain our profile. This serves a similar function to our website, but gives a more accessible version of the different things that we'll be posting online, such as details on upcoming events, project progress, and just general information about Oceano and how to get in contact with us. If you don't already, I'm going to invite you to follow us and share our profiles with your family and your friends. Again, this is a great way for us to garner more insight and more input from the community and just keep everybody informed on what it is that we're doing to advance a more healthy and equitable Oceano. Next slide, please. So, in addition to our survey, our website, and our social media presence, we have also been working very hard to develop what we call key contacts in Oceano. Our ability to engage with and understand what local stakeholders want for Oceano's future is so integral to this plan. And that was something that we really honed in on at our first engagement event that we hosted at the beginning of December. At this pop-up event, we worked in groups outside of Central Market, Efren's Deli, and Vaughn's in Arroyo Grande to engage with patrons and identify high priority areas in Oceano using a map developed by one of our student teams. And the questions that we asked and activities that we put on at our pop-up was based in large part on the information that we got from our first round of interviews with you, PAC members. Your willingness to participate in these interviews is so appreciated and is really, really a important part of the community engagement process and also the preliminary stages of us drafting our plan. Next slide, please. So I know I threw a lot of information out there about what we've accomplished since September. So just to recap, we've done our hiring of Spanish translators and our community liaison. We've also worked to develop our survey and publish a website. We've initiated our social media presence, and we've put on our first community pop-up event and conducted our first round of interviews. But now we still have some things to take care of until March. So from now until then, we will be focusing on distributing the door-to-door and mail-in surveys, facilitating focus groups, and getting the word out, which involves spreading the word through our different medias and hopefully having folks like yourselves spread the word to people that you think would be interested in learning more or participating in our project. I will note that we are taking the necessary precautions to mitigate the spread of COVID. So our plan to hold pop-up events are tentative. However, we understand that not everybody has equitable access to secure internet and to the technology to support online events. So we really want to try to get involved and get on the ground, but we are ensuring that when we do so, it is in the safest, most COVID conscious way possible. Next slide, please. So now I'm going to pass it over to Kelly, and she's going to give a little bit of an explanation about the strategies for understanding and representing different members of the community.
Nick asked me to talk to you a little bit this evening about the types of, in a little bit more detail, the types of outreach we're doing and the significance of those different types of outreach. So one of the things we're doing that has really never been done in Oceano before that's particularly important is we're doing something called a random survey. It's a door-to-door survey. It will involve collecting approximately 250 surveys by going throughout the community of Oceano and interviewing residents at their household. That survey has been designed and will be administered in a way in which we can say that it represents the views of the residents of Oceano with about 95% confidence. So that's different from online surveys and mail-in surveys where you don't have the ability to necessarily say that those were randomly gathered. You don't know necessarily if a large group of people with a special interest might be answering those surveys. You don't know with the mail-in surveys, if those are distributed throughout town, those might be people who are all visiting a particular business or or whatever, wherever the mail-in surveys are being distributed. By actually going door to door and doing it in a way that's scientifically designated as random, you have the ability to say that for the information gathered from that particular survey, the door-to-door survey, you can represent the views of the community. And we don't have any other plans or efforts that have been completed that can actually say that, because they haven't done a survey in that manner. An example, next slide, an example is, for instance, if we find out from that door-to-door survey, and we can interpret those results separate from the results of the mail-in surveys and the online surveys. Let's say we find out from that door-to-door survey that 70% of the residents indicate that new sidewalks are extremely important, which is one of the choices they have in telling us how important new sidewalks are for them. We can say with a 95% confidence interval that that represents the views of the residents of Oceano. So that's pretty important because it doesn't represent any particular one group from the residents of Oceano. It is a broad representation of the community's viewpoint in terms of the residents. Now, that's one thing we can get from this particular kind of survey, the door-to-door survey. Next slide. We're doing two, as I said, we're doing two other kinds of surveys, the mail-in survey, which we're distributing throughout town, copies of the survey with envelopes and labels and stamps on them so people can easily return them to us. We are going to be trying to achieve at least 100 of those. We don't know how many we'll achieve. And then also, of course, we have the online survey. David Yeager, if you could go ahead and put in the chat area the link to the survey, both the Spanish survey and the English survey, that would be great. Those are links to our online survey. So the picture you see on your right is really representative of what an online survey can tell you. When we report the results of the online survey, we can say that of the people that took the survey, and of course we'll get data from that survey about who took the survey in terms of age, ethnicity, income level, et cetera, that of those people, we can say that we know some statistical representation of what they think. We can't really interpret that that in any way represents some larger set of the community of Oceano. We can only say that really those results represent what the people that took the survey online have indicated. So that could be people from Oceano. It could be people who live there. It could be business owners. It could be people from outside Oceano. All those people have the ability to respond to the online survey. And so one of the things that that provides us with is information about people who visit the community or are interested in the community who aren't necessarily residents, who might be residents. And we'll find that if they indicate that. They could be, like I said, business owners, people from outside the community, et cetera. So that's a way of gathering information well beyond the community. So those are the quantitative kind of data sources that we have, meaning we get basic statistical information from that, but that kind of data does not really help us understand sort of why some of the answers are coming about in the surveys. Next slide. So we use what we call qualitative data, which is essentially talking to people, running focus groups, doing interviews, discussions with people out in the community to ask more in-depth questions to try to understand some of the reasons that we might see the answers we're getting in the more quantitative type surveys. We're doing all of these things, and all of these things together should help us. First of all, they're really a tremendously broad and significant effort to understand both what the residents think as well as people who aren't residents but are interested in the community and participate. But they also help us understand a little bit more in depth sort of what's going on with the community. So that's a little bit of a briefing on the types of data we're gathering that we'll be reporting to you the next time you return, and what the data can possibly represent in terms of what we can report to you. So I'll go ahead and turn it back to Olivia so she can go ahead and continue with information about what the students have been doing.
Great. Thank you so much, Kelly. So now I'd like to move on before introducing our student teams and just briefly introduce you to the goals, actions, and inspirations that we have been working on. So the goals and actions that we've developed are hopefully going to be drafted into our action plan. And inspirations refers to the different background information that we've gathered that has inspired or informed the decision to draft the goals and actions that we have decided to draft. Next slide, please. So as mentioned previously, after the student teams present, everybody will have the opportunity to participate in a breakout discussion. This will be facilitated through breakout rooms via Zoom. So the student teams have been broken up into 4 rooms. As you can see, the number to the left or right of the icon indicates which student team corresponds to which number. So for example, if you found something that the Complete Neighborhoods and Mobility team said really interesting and you'd like to have further discussion with them about that, when the time comes, you'll go ahead and choose to participate in breakout room 2. Again, if you could refrain from commenting or asking any questions as the presentation goes on, we would greatly appreciate that. So be sure to make note of anything that stands out to you or any questions that you might have for a particular student or a particular group. So with that said, I'd like to pass things over to our housing, food, security, and economics team to get the discussion of our goals and actions rolling.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Michael O'Toole. I've been working alongside David and Allison. We're the housing, food access, and economy team. I'll be discussing housing with you today first. Next slide. So just going over a goal and an adjacent action that we've established. One of the goals that we think is necessary for Oceano is an affordable and accessible housing market. And the action alongside that we think would help with that would be to encourage development of accessory dwelling units or ADUs in the community. And then the recommended components of that action, encouraging ADUs, would be to educate residents about ADUs and the difference between ADUs and junior accessory dwelling units. And then also to work alongside the county to reduce the time for permit approvals and ensure that the permitting fees are kept low. Next slide. And then just a brief overview of some of our inspiration for coming up with the goals and actions covered. Looking at the existing conditions of Oceano, we established that over half of the renters are struggling with high housing costs per the census. That's determined as households paying over 30% of their household income towards rent. And then in the community input from the most recent County of San Luis Obispo housing element update, Oceano residents expressed the need for more affordable rental options. And we think that ADUs could go a long way to achieving that. And then just over there on the right is just a brief overview of the various forms that ADUs can take shape in. They can be a new structure, which is attached or detached, or they can be a part of the existing home. And they also serve as a great way to facilitate multi-generational housing.
All right, just to start off, I'd like to check if everybody can hear me. I've been having a hard time with my internet this evening. If I get an okay from somebody, that would be great.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, good. Hi, I'm David Thorson. I have identified creating opportunities for business incubators within the community as a goal for economic development. And this goal can be accomplished in part by supporting the training and education of local entrepreneurs who wish to start a new small business. Working collaboratively with the Oceano Community Service District and the community can decrease the financial barriers to entry and provide opportunity to develop within the interests of Oceano residents. Next slide, please. Part of giving local entrepreneurs a chance at establishing long-lasting and successful businesses, providing training, education, and establishing partnerships between existing businesses and local programs. Some ways to accomplish this economic setting would be to provide incentives for local businesses to offer mentoring programs to residents, identify local residents with specific interests and direct them towards business classes at local community colleges and online programs, and to identify grants that support emerging business development. Streamlining regulatory processes like parking requirements, fees, food service regulations, and providing other incentives would give new businesses the chance to develop. Community workshops detailing these kinds of services would be valuable in creating greater opportunity for residents of Oceano. Next slide, please. Some of the most successful and beloved businesses in Oceano have been there for many years and are run by locals and are reflective of the local area. Oceano is an opportunity zone for local businesses. Based on comments made during our community engagement efforts, it is important to residents that future development remains in context of community interests and does not displace current businesses. Developing businesses that provide services relative to the cultural and historic context of the Oceano community can help facilitate a one-of-a-kind experience that is unique, that has unique value to both residents and prospective tourists.
Hello, good evening. I'm Allison. I'm looking at issues related to food access in Oceano. So in my research in the past few months, the goal I came up with is a community food system that provides everyone with the food that they want and need. And an action I found corresponding to fulfilling this goal is promoting and allowing the use of EBT at farm stands and farmers markets. Next slide, please. So this action has twofold. One is to increase awareness and registration of EBT, especially to vulnerable populations in Oceano and the surrounding communities. And then second is enable EBT vouchers at farm stands and farmers markets within the South County area. Next slide. So Oceano already has a wonderful base of amazing produce stands, such as the Hayashi vegetable stand. However, most of these farm stands don't take EBT, nor does the farmers market in Arroyo Grande. However, if you drive up the road to the downtown SLO farmers market tomorrow evening, they do take EBT. However, other SLO County farmers markets also take EBT, such as the Los Osos and Cambria farmers market. So there's already a wonderful infrastructure that's already in the surrounding communities that can be put in place here in Oceano and at the Arroyo Grande farmers market.
Thank you, Allison, and hello, everyone, and thank you for your time this evening. My name is Alex, and I will be starting us off for the Complete Neighborhoods and Mobility team. The team consists of Vaishnavi, Margot, and Connor. Next slide, please. My overall topic is interested in neighborhood mobility. The goal that I will be talking about today is accessible and robust transit system for all residents. The action that I will be focusing in on from there is actually doing a pilot for a micro transit service. And it's crucial to the citizens of Oceano for a robust and equitable transit system. It will help residents get to work, help them get to recreational purposes, help them attain education, and also be able to access health services. Next slide, please. So in order to achieve an accessible and robust transit system for all residents, the action to pilot a micro transit service will improve transit service for underserved populations and provide a seamless transit service. So some of you might not know what micro transit service is. Micro transit is a flexible, on-demand, curb-to-curb public transportation service. It's operated with smaller vehicles instead of the larger transit buses and doesn't follow a fixed route. Microtransit provides on-demand rides to riders within a specific zone or area. Riders will be able to order a ride in two ways, from a smartphone application or by calling into a transit center. Those using a smartphone app will be able to decide whether they're starting and ending destinations and will be given an estimated time of arrival. Those calling in will schedule a time and be picked up right from their house. Next slide. So I would like to talk about the inspiration and currently what the progress is. I looked to San Luis Obispo Regional Transportation Authority, SLO RTA, and currently they have several services that are very similar to microtransit, one being the runabout service, paratransit, and dial-a-ride. One of the things that I would like, while this is great, there is no service available for every resident, and there is other places that have taken advantage of a microtransit service. And the cost of it usually is from $1 to $3 one way. And lastly, an example of a nearby local community is Goleta. In 2019, their regional transportation agency was awarded a grant from Caltrans called the Low Carbon Transit Operation Program, LC TOP. And it allowed for the purchase of 3 microtransit vehicles for providing a microtransit service. I found this very inspiring for the ability of a small community to be able to provide this service. Next slide.
Hello, everyone. My name is Vaishnavi, and I'll be discussing the goals and actions concerning accessibility in Oceano. And one of the goals we would like to focus on is using complete neighborhood guidelines to allow residents to enjoy and perform their daily activities with ease. So one of the actions that would allow us to achieve this goal is by introducing an improved lighting program. Oops. Okay. So what the improved lighting program consists of is providing more consistent lighting across the neighborhood and prioritizing lighting according to the land use and need, and also making sure that we use better fixtures. So in terms of achieving better lighting, this could be done through installing energy efficient and high quality lighting and making sure that the lights maximizes the night sky visibility, and finally to reduce glare or any other kind of light pollution. So in terms of developing this action, we found several important information from existing reports. One of them included mentions of inconsistency in streetlights along the main streets along Highway 1 and Railroad Street. And additionally, we also found a community survey conducted by Brennan, where other than the lack of infrastructure, streetlight was also one of the big concerns, and lack of it usually provoked a sense of fear and lack of safety in the community. And I will be passing on to Margot to explain our next goal. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Margot, and I'm focusing on community design. My proposed goal is a physical environment that is livable, sustainable, and reflective of the community, with the corresponding action of community design guidelines. Next slide, please. By recommending community design guidelines, I'm hoping that the community residents will be able to get involved in a collaborative process in which they shape a shared community vision of how they want the community to look. And by doing this, I'm hoping that the design standards will promote a shared community identity as well as safety, as well as cater to pedestrians and people by focusing on elements such as streetscape, landscaping, building frontage improvements, as well as seating and shading in the public right-of-way. Next slide, please. My inspiration for this action came from looking at the existing design guidelines. Because the existing renovation plan focused on large-scale improvements such as parking location as well as street widening, I decided to look at proposed design actions from the city of Salinas. Some of those actions included adding outdoor seating outside of restaurants and businesses to activate the streetscape and promote interaction in the public realm, as well as implementing open and transparent facades to invite interactions within the public right-of-way, and also implementing distinctive planting that will characterize the streetscape frontage.
Hi everybody, my name is Connor. I'm going to be talking about neighborhood mobility. Safe walking routes, namely sidewalks, are an integral part of providing everybody the ability to walk and roll around town safely without having to interact with vehicular traffic on streets. Walking and rolling are also physical activities that can directly benefit a person's health, and having access to safe walking paths are an equitable use of the public realm that all should enjoy. One of the goals that I'm working on is making safe walking routes for Oceano, which is basically sidewalks. And then the action, first action we really need to focus on is identifying funding opportunities. Next slide. So while this is an ongoing process, funds will need to be secured to implement a robust program to complete this townwide project. Currently, support for the sidewalk program is anecdotal, but with complete research, with concrete research that we are conducting, we should be able to present the county with an unquestionable case of public support for this program. Funds should also be sought through grant programs and possibly through a parcel tax program to help bolster the case for more public funding. For example, Oceano residents who want this would be willing to help pay for it themselves through parcel tax. Next slide. Sorry. So for the existing conditions that we see in Oceano, SLO County is currently in possession of funds to improve sidewalks in Oceano, but has not released them to the community. Plans have been presented to the Board of Supervisors to implement a sidewalk program, but it lacks support among elected officials. So with the concrete research that we're doing now, we should be able to show that residents are very in favor of the sidewalk program. Grant programs can also be used as funding options, and community groups can help raise funds through grassroots efforts. And I'm going to pass it on to the next group. Thank you.
Thanks, Connor. Hi, everyone. My name is David, and with Sadie and Nicole, we are the Environment and Sustainability team. Next slide. So the goal I'm going to be focusing on is about sustainable energy. So it's sustainable, reliable, and affordable energy for Oceano. And the specific action focus will be about solar energy in specific for Oceano. So this action aims to seek out alternative energy providers that focus on low-income communities, such as Grid Alternatives, which is a nonprofit, which can bring community-wide renewable energy projects into the community of Oceano. So this project would support Oceano in a changing climate and also include professional training and development for local workers in an emerging industry. A key component of this action is to save money for Oceano residents on their energy bills, which will allow them to use those funds for other needs. This action also seeks to benefit public health by limiting air pollution from polluting energy sources and helping to kickstart electrification of homes and businesses, as well as supporting energy resiliency. Next slide. So this action was inspired by a few things, but there's two of them that I want to highlight here. First is from a report that was funded by SLO County, which included a decent amount of community engagement. And from this engagement, they noted that the community wished for any alternative energy project, for it to be successful, it should focus on 4 different needs, which are reducing the utility cost burdens, increasing local control and resiliency, electrification of buildings, and workforce training. So an example that inspired this action is a real-world project from Grid Alternatives, who partnered with a low-income community, which was the Santa Rosa Band of Cahuilla Indians in Southern California, as well as a cooperative energy provider in the area. And they implemented about a 3,000 solar panel array on the Southern California reservation. So the result of this is that the project expects to provide $5.4 million in savings to the reservation and the surrounding community.
Hello, my name is Sadie. I'm going to be discussing our goal and action around natural hazards in Oceano. Flooding is a frequent issue that residents would like to see resolved. Progress is already underway to provide Oceano with a proper drainage system of gutters and storm drains. Although to supplement this system, Oceano should consider investing in green flood control measures. Next slide, please. A bioswale, as shown here, is an excellent example of green flood control. It collects water from the immediate area and gives it a space to absorb into the ground, working to supplement more traditional flood control measures. Next slide, please. Green flood control would work particularly well in Oceano because of the area's naturally absorbent soils. In addition, individual residents and even entire neighborhoods in New Orleans have had amazing success implementing green infrastructure themselves, independent of the city or county. It's relatively cheap and it provides an immediate solution while waiting for larger systems and plans to be implemented.
Hello, I'm Nicole, and I'm going to be talking about the goals and actions associated with the natural environment in Oceano. The goal that I will be focusing on today is preserve natural open space, and the associated action that works to achieve this goal is enhancing the existing natural open space through a Parks and Open Space Committee. Next slide, please. The establishment of a Parks and Open Space Committee will work to identify improvement areas based on factors such as cost, educational opportunities, accessibility, and the ability to complete or enhance the existing unique environmental features. It's also important to note that we encourage the committee to consist of locals of various ages who are passionate about improving the nature around them. Next slide. The community members of Oceano have expressed their commitment to their natural spaces through advocacy groups and nonprofits. And since Oceano is fairly built out, the committee can look inward to enhance their existing natural areas and work with agencies such as the California State Parks and other landowners to do so. Next slide.
Hello.
Research has.
Oh,
go
for it, Nicole.
No, sorry, you're one slide back real fast by me. Research has shown that. Sorry about that. Research has shown that communities who celebrate and actively look for ways to expand nature's presence in their community have long-term preservation of their environments. For example, the city of Claremont has a local sustainability committee that holds the city accountable for preserving and enhancing their natural areas, all based on local and professional input. Thank you.
Okay, hello. My name is Olivia, and along with Riley and Rachel, we are representing the Sense of Community team. Next slide. The goals and actions that I would like to talk about, or goal and action rather, is a community with access to various opportunities for education and learning. And the associated action is applying for the Expanded Learning Opportunities, or ELO grant, through the California Department of Education. Next slide, please. Empowering young people requires that they have safe spaces to learn and grow, and facilitating expanded learning opportunity, or ELO programs, provides children with just that. The Expanded Learning Opportunities Grant provides eligible agencies such as school districts and counties with funds to provide supplemental instruction to students, which includes before or after school and summer programs focused on academic support in science, English language, and learning via technology, social and emotional support in leadership skill building, and life skills like career paths, college exploration, and even dance. Successful ELO programming requires that there is a partnership between the agency and the community that they're working in. And this could be businesses, vocational schools, community clubs, or nonprofits. And to qualify for an ELO grant, the applicant must commit to providing support for both English and multilingual learners. Next slide, please. I was inspired by looking at the Bright Futures program at Oceano Elementary School. I thought that that was a really great opportunity that already exists in Oceano to expand learning outside of the classroom, so that students can have additional opportunities to learn and grow personally and academically. And an example of a successful ELO program that I found was in Tucson, Arizona. While Tucson is not similar to Oceano geographically, it is similar in that it is very diverse and culturally rich and has a large multilingual population. And they have implemented a dual language program to support multilingual learners in that environment. And next, please.
Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel, and as part of the Sense of Community team, we have been developing a goal in which we recommend showcasing a community rich in culture and history. To support this goal, one action is to organize an annual community art-based placemaking event. Next slide, please. This would be community-wide and annual, where residents can celebrate their heritage, culture, and history through public art installations throughout Oceano. Murals and paintings could be put on streets, poles, fences, or side of buildings, and we would want to look into partnering with local artists. Research shows that when, thank you, sorry. Research shows that when an individual sees their heritage, language, and culture expressed physically and locally, a sense of community and identity is instilled within them. Now, next slide, please. At current, in terms of progress and existing conditions, there is only a handful of public art. 3 murals that depict Latinx culture and cuisine are located outside of Chachos and Efrins. The most recent art installation is this one pictured here on this slide, and what is made possible by collaborative efforts between dedicated residents of Oceano, a local artist, Chacho's Mexican restaurant, and the Oceano Beach Community Association, who received a $3,000 grant to help fund this mural. Review of community input from past planning documents and our outreach efforts last year reveal that there is a desire for more aesthetics within the community core of Oceano and more overall representation of the residents' culture and history. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Riley, and my focus has been on community safety and well-being. One of the goals we discussed was ensuring a safe community for you all to be able to live and work in happily. And one action that could possibly help improve that sense of security would be a neighborhood watch program. Next slide. A neighborhood watch program can be extremely beneficial in ensuring an extra sense of security, since there will be more eyes on the street and people reporting suspicious or criminal activity. To start a program, it's first good to educate the public about what one does and how it can benefit the community. Typically, a neighborhood watch program starts within the community through meetings and online platforms, and then partners up with local law enforcement to work together. This is a way for the community to form a stronger relationship with your local authorities, as well as unite the community more, since you'll be working together to protect your family, friends, and neighbors. Next slide. As of current, there does not appear to be any neighborhood watch groups affiliated with Oceano, but please note anything that you may know of in the comments section. The SLO County Sheriff's Department does have a webpage where you can easily access information on how to start a program and register one with them though. Next. The neighborhood of Sol Vista in Huntington Beach is a successful example of a watch program started by 2 concerned neighbors who were not feeling safe in their community. They utilized the online platform Nextdoor to start a neighborhood watch group, partnered up with their local law enforcement, and saw a noticeable amount of crime decline since. Next. Los Osos also has a neighborhood crime watch group on Facebook with almost 3,000 members. So both of these online platforms can be an easy way to start up and stay informed for the Oceano community. Thank you.
All righty. Well, thank you, everybody. And thank you to all my classmates for sharing all your wonderful ideas for goals and actions for Oceano. Before I initiate the breakout discussion, you might be asking yourself, how can I help any more than I already have? You guys have done such an exceptional job of helping us, but we still have much progress to be made. And I am going to extend myself to ask for a little bit of assistance with hosting focus groups. So if you are the member of or the leader of a community organization that meets regularly, we would love if you would invite us to facilitate a focus group at your next upcoming meeting. Also, if you have any key contacts in mind that we haven't otherwise been made aware of that you think would be very valuable to our project, or you think that they would be very eager to be involved with our project, please pass those on to us. You can, again, find our team's contact on our website, shapeoceanosfuture.com. Additionally, take our survey. We would very much appreciate if you would participate in that regard. We will be going door to door this weekend, and we're very excited to be on the ground. So for those of you that are living local to Oceano, we might just see you sometime this weekend. Additionally, if you could follow us on social media, we would greatly appreciate that as well. It's a great, easy way to stay up to date on any project updates or any upcoming events that we are planning on facilitating. And we would love if you could just keep getting the word out. I have loved working with Oceano, and I think that my classmates can agree. It's great to be working in such a tight-knit community of people. And I know that word spreads quick, so get the word out, folks. And that brings me to the contact page. So for those of you that haven't had the opportunity to correspond with us yet, feel free to take a snapshot of this page just so that you have all of our contact information available to you, and at the ready, if you have any additional things that you'd like to add after this presentation. I'd like to move forward with the breakout discussions. I know that we're a little bit pressed for time. So if there's any limitations that you're working around, please feel free to excuse yourself from the breakout discussion. But we would love to have as many people participate as possible. We understand that taking the time to meet with us tonight is already a big ask, but if you have any additional comments, concerns, or questions you'd like to ask to a specific group, please feel free. I'm going to open up the breakout rooms right now. And again, just to clarify, you have the ability to choose your own breakout room. So if you have questions about housing, economics, and food access, choose breakout room 1. Complete neighborhoods and mobility, choose breakout room 2. Environment and sustainability, choose breakout room 3. And if you have any questions about sense of community, please choose breakout room 4. We'll go over some additional goals and actions in the breakout discussion, and we look forward to hearing a little bit more from you.
I just want to make sure, Olivia, that everybody understands how to assign themselves.
Yes, great point. If you go down in your in the ribbon down at the bottom of your screen, you should be able to click breakout room. And then if you click on the number that corresponds to the group that you want to participate with, you can click join to the right.
So while you're picking rooms, just a reminder, room 1 is housing, economy, and food. 2 is complete neighborhoods and transportation. 3 is environment and sustainability. So go to breakout room 3 or choose room 3. And for the community committee, please go ahead and choose breakout room 4 or just room 4.